Yo, what's up guys? I was looking through the balance patch and something caught my eye that I think no one talked about just yet, which is this guy, Seiishizo, also known as Bob for the really OG people out there. But what was buffed on this dude? Well, he has a higher chance, or he does do 20% more damage for this. And this is also something that you can't revive if you kill with this skill. And there is a revive unit on arena defense right now that's pretty annoying, which is this guy over here. Sure, you can stun it and then the passive doesn't work before people are in the comments, just stun it, say. It's like, yeah, I know, the stun does work, but then you have to land the stun. But let's see if we can actually make Seiishizo work in a certain way where it will be interesting. Because it's been a while since I've seen his damage output, and he's on a 911, which is pretty high, and he's also looking at a 30 crit base, which definitely does help out on a 105 speed base. So the base stats for him outside of HP and defense are actually really good. And this skill also has a good bit of damage, plus it does extra damage on light. And let's use a team like this. I might have to switch around the team a little bit depending on what they will bring, but against this I can definitely use something like this. These will be the units on Despair set over there, Despair set over there. That kind of kills the whole purpose where his passive just straight up doesn't work. But just for the idea of it, Swift set on that, and then a Rage set over here with 236 crit damage. Not that much on attack. It is this one over here. I'm not too sure if this is actually going to do that much damage, but we're going to build him slightly different later on, because I do expect a Gandalf mostly to be paired next to a Leo, and then we can actually go for a full damage output kind of set, and we'll see from there. Okay, so well, that's definitely where we can stun it in the first place, so that is a good showcase over there. Okay, how much damage are we dealing? 14k times 2, that is good damage already, but that also does mean that we already cleared everything, so he can go for the revive, right? See, is he supposed to be able to go? Yeah, he can go for a revive right now. That's kind of stupid. We did too much damage on the skill 3 that we didn't even get the chance. Well, we do have the backup stuns on that, which is kind of nice. And we can leave a dot with that, which is actually not that bad. So it did kind of work out. But now the big question, can I find enough of those Gandalfs midweek? Oh, found a Gandalf, and as mentioned, it's next to a Leo, so gotta have to do the set slightly different, but let's go for a Leo countering comp. So normally I use something along the lines of this, so let's actually put a Seiishizo in there. It doesn't make too much sense for the fact where I would be able to put a lead to it. So for that reason, we're gonna do it slightly different. So we're gonna do it like this. So I still have the lead over there, you're the pushbacker and defense breaker, you're the attack buffer, and I cannot go for Deborah, but let's say you don't have a Deborah. In this case, we also don't need you on that much speed. So let's remove your speed and let's just add a ungodly amount of crit damage and attack. Look something like this. Bit more stats right there for attack and crit damage. So that should be having a good bit more damage right now. But let's see if that does actually work. I do have this thing on a will set plus a triple or double fight. Not triple fight, that's not possible. So we can go for this hit right there. We are 15 crit rate on the Madeline Cookie to not mess up the Camillas as much. We do land that all, and we did also crit that. That's kind of unfortunate. Okay, also, the rotation would make it that I would always crit with a first hit on this in the first place, but how much damage are we looking at? 34, that's already doing way too much damage, but he already goes for the revive right away, and then we get the second skill off, and then we can go for skill 4. But that skill 3 is already doing way too much damage. Why is the anti-revive not in the skill 3? I need the anti-revive in the skill 3. He's doing way too much damage. He's not even countering this thing. That's an issue, I guess. I think I also kind of straight up die right now. Wow, that's they should have buffed the skill 3 to be anti-revive. That would have made a lot more sense, I guess. Also, this shield is way too massive, and massive healing. That's a full HP heal right there. I think I'll lose. Wow, that's quite the something. You cannot... Can you go for an S2 into an S4? Is that even a possibility on this unit? I'm not even sure about that. Well, at least we have some backups for these kind of units, but I'm just curious to see. I have 0 crit rate or 0 accuracy on you, so trying to land that in the first place doesn't really help. No, that's not a full chance to land anything right there, so that doesn't really help out. Good damage, though. Definitely good damage. Try to heal it a little bit. Yay, we took it out. That's some massive damage right there as well. Wow. Can we stun this? Perfect. Can we Oblivion this? Thank you very much. Can we kill that? We can kill that. Cleanup is not too bad. It's not too bad. It is good damage though. Like, his damage output is definitely not bad. You can use him as a pure damage dealer, but is he usable as a anti-mechanic for, oh, we use him for the anti-revive? Not really, because the anti-revive is on the wrong skill. Typical Zomtua's kind of buff you. The whole balance patch is just that, right? Like, the whole balance patch is like, is kind of a buff, but is it really a buff? Let's try it on this one. Arguably more tanky team. In this one, I also would be too slow if I keep him this slow. So let's actually speed him up again and then just make it work against something like this, which is arguably a super tanky team. So therefore, I do expect the S3 to not kill, and therefore the S4 will kill. I think that just adding in a plus 100 attack while having the attack boost and attack speed buff thingy, whatever, I think it would be good enough, but let's see. I don't think that this team, like by max, it's like, what, 280 combat speed or something? Yeah, a little bit more. Yeah, it was like about 280 combat speed, but I already out-tick that over here right now, so that's totally fine. Plus, we have pushbacks. The pushbacks also do kind of help for lowering that value. We do also have it stunned this time around, so even if we kill it, that is kind of nice that it is a stun plus death break. That's a lot of damage. Loki, that is actually a lot and a lot of damage. That's way more damage than I expected. He's actually a pretty solid nuker. Like, sure, I can still give credits to Zyros probably nuking better because of the ignore, or like the resets, and the resets being really nice. But this thing is a proper heavy nuke. He hits hard. And that's the same team. Well, then we just hit the same team just to see what happens if we don't get the stun out there, because that's more likely it is on this pair, but very odds are that you don't get the stun in there. So then we would go for this. Yep. Okay, does go for the revive. Can we clear on this revive team right now? Which, no, we can't. That's kind of the odds where you really need the death break. He has extra damage the moment that he hits on a death break, which is definitely a very strong part about his kit. But yeah, this is the part where we needed that anti-revive on the other one, man. This is not where we needed the revive. We needed the anti-revive on the first hit. You could also say it's like, oh, just lower the damage output and then you have the right damage at the right moment, blah, blah, blah kind of style. Yeah, I can kind of see that, but then the big issue is, what if you lower the damage by too much and you don't kill? So it's a little bit back and forth of saying, like, okay, what is the right moment of dealing enough damage, right? So it's kind of in the midst that way. So in this case, the cooldowns are pretty short. You kind of get your skills back pretty fast, so we can go for this skill right now. And this is the kind of moment where you normally want to do this skill, because that's where you start killing and that kind of stuff. But I would say his damage output really good. Actually way better than expected. Maybe a little bit too good even. But then the question on, is he usable for the thing that I thought he would be good at? Not really, though. Actually not at all. I expected him to have an anti-revive mechanic like a free-to-play-ish Grogan because he HOH, but yeah, the anti-revive mechanic comes a little bit too late. But also over here, that damage is fucking nasty. That is actually some proper nasty damage. He clears things very hard. Like, I would almost argue that this is more damage than a Zyros would do. Maybe I should have Oblivioned over there. You can't stun this at the moment, right? Probably you can't even Oblivion at this moment. Can you even clear me right now? Yeah, freaking weak unit. I'm not sure what that... Can we kill it now? Nope, okay, so it's not a passive thingy. Does this work against that? Probably also not. Nope, okay, nothing works. Sure, fine. At least this thing is not taking 16 million times to actually get anything of killing right now. But yeah, just twice that hit and then dead. Easy. So yeah, for damage output, if you're trying to find a damage unit, or you're more early game and you happen to pull this unit, or it comes back in an HOH or anything like that, his damage output is really good. Like, I'm actually low-key pretty surprised about how much damage output he has. It is just the big issue where, yeah, do you have enough firepower to kill something like this? So in this case, they could definitely be faster than me, but I'm just gonna take it. I don't want to add in a speed lead. I'm lazy this time around. Please don't outspeed me. Doesn't outspeed me. Nice. I'm liking his damage. Like double 24Ks or even more. That's not bad at all. So let's send it once again. Yeah, that's even double 30Ks. Wow, that's so freaking much damage though. I'm kind of wondering, what if I go for... you kind of want to go Death Break for sure. Like the attack buff, because his skill 3 does extra damage the moment you hit on a Death Break. Okay, this is actually where it looks really good. So maybe you should put a lot of crit damage low on him. Would that make sense? Yeah, that kind of does make sense, because right now I'm currently having attack increasing effect, but maybe crit damage low would make a lot of sense on him. Because for artifacts right now, I have attack increasing effect, but as I mentioned, crit damage low, because you're trying to kill the last bit of that unit for the most part, and that is the strongest part out there. That's a really good combination line right there. And then this also does kind of work. So adding in a bit more crit damage low, we already have a fair bit of crit damage. I'm not sure if that's really that value, but it is a something. Let's just see it against this one. First of all, also I'm climbing myself to a rank 1 because I'm kind of doing an arena rush kind of shit midweek, which normally doesn't really help, but it is a something. It is a something. I would definitely say if you have better options, probably do use those better options, but if you don't have those better options, this is a really solid damage dealer. Like, his damage is actually insane. I can see him being used over Zyros even. Like, I feel like he has better damage output than Zyros. You could make the argument, say, put this exact set on the Zyros. Well, it's not really a fair trade because Zyros doesn't need any crit rate. So it kind of depends on what kind of runes you have. If you have a higher crit rate set, then that has more value to it as well. So, but let's see what we can do on this one right now, right here. So if we once again go for the cookie, I also kind of like this team for the whole setup. So if you already have your fast clear kind of team, but then you're trying to find a team for slowerish clears, this could be a team that you could be looking at. It's like, hey, this actually does work pretty well. So we're gonna clear the first hits on this. That's all good. Oh, wait, he's stunned. Actually, Loki, I don't want you to be stunned. I just want to see if this crit damage low actually does do enough. But I can't go back into this team. He's currently rank 1, so people do have issues with clearing this midweek, apparently. Or it's just people don't want to slow clear this, because slow clearing this would take like 16 million years or something longer than that. So... and you might even lose that on the slow clear. Okay, so we did not... that's actually kind of fine. I was thinking, like, what if we just simply don't put a death break? Would we do enough damage? But you already saw that over here. Not really, but you could potentially add more damage by adding a no death break kind of style. So you go for like a... what would add more damage? I'm not too sure, actually, but you could go for something to add more damage, like Uldong or Miriam or something like that. Okay, so still not really enough damage, but pretty close to is kind of the answer to it. Let's hit you over there, otherwise we give you bar, and then we can maybe clear this. Oh, wait, we did not crit that. This thing is gonna hurt. Please don't hurt me like that. I should have Oblivioned it. Yeah, he doesn't have any tanky stats, though. That's definitely a issue with that unit. There's absolutely zero value for tanky stats to it. I think I might die, especially if you start proccing on like a guy Razy, which he's kind of doing right there. And he's also healing himself a good bit. And I killed myself on reflex, because this unit is absolutely zoggy shite and things. Can we Oblivion and kill it? Did kind of Oblivion and killed it. Uh-oh. And stun it. And stun it. Cookie OP. Cookie OP. So yeah, issue still kind of remains. You lack a little bit too much damage. The Gandalf revive is a little bit too much to clear on that second hit. And prepping it to a way where the S4 can actually kill rather than the S3 killing is kind of hard as well. So wish that the S3 had the anti-revive thingy in there, because this most of the time, like, yeah, sure, you could lower the damage output by a lot that you're not gonna kill, but that's also not that easy. And if one thing dies, then he still cleanses off everything else. In this case, I think we're kind of on good edge where we might... Nope. It was the anti-mechanical of that thing that kind of made it not work. Okay, that's not great. Can we at least stun this? And this is where we go in issue scenarios once again. Especially if you take 4 turns. That's not really helping out. Not really helping out. Nope. More soft puddings. Everything back to full HP. Oblivion it. Nope. Insta dead. Yeah, I'm not too sure what to think about it. I kind of like him to kill other things but the freaking Gandalf. Or you would have to go for some guaranteed stuns. Like, that's also a way. If you just go for a guaranteed stun, then it is a lot better. Or you would have to lower his damage output, but that's the thing. His skill 3 is so much more damage than his skill 4, because his skill 3 has 25% extra damage in here. It has extra damage on light, and it has a higher multiplier, and it is double hit. So there's just so much more value to this skill than the skill 4 is, which kind of does suck for him. Plus it has the anti-death mechanic only in the skill 4 and not in the skill 3, which he is kind of weird. He's kind of weird. Okay, let's try that one more time, because now everything is stunned, and then suddenly it is super easy, and then we just go for a zoop. That's also the thing. If he is stunned, he doesn't cut in. If he is... That's actually kind of weird as well. Well, it happened before with similar units, where if they are stunned, they don't cut in. If they're not stunned, they do cut in, kind of style. Can we hit something like this? No, it would destroy myself on reflex right there. Also into Camilla, since it is a double hit, it's not really the craziest out there. But yeah, I can see some value on him of making him into a proper nuker. That if you are looking for your arena offense nuker and you don't have any, this might be a thing that you could be using. Also, the fire one or the light one are not too bad neither. Fire one does have a built-in death break, so he is a backup death breaker, which can be kind of interesting. And the light one is pretty much a reverse version of this, but a slightly bit lower of base on attack. So therefore, I would say that Dark is probably the best nuker out there, but Fire is semi-interesting because of him having a death break in here. And the Wind and Water one, they don't share the same skill 3, so you kind of want this skill 3 for a nuking kind of thing. But yeah, having a death break here on 60% double hit is not that bad. He doesn't have the damage improvement. And also his base stats are a little bit lower. Not actually that much lower. Let's actually give him a try. I think I have him built as well. You, of course, do have the issues for elements with him, though. Okay, build was kind of a relative term on that one over there. He's level 35. He was 6-star. So let's just actually make him... Or he was 5-star. Let's make him 6-star. Give him the skill ups. And I'm not going to max level him. And now we're just going to see how he does, if he does, or something like that. So we're just going to give all of those. We're just going to keep him level 35. I'm fine with that as long as he's max skilled. Just for like 1 or 2 tries to see if he has some value on like a backup death break, which also gives you the opportunity to maybe play something else on the death breaking slot. Such as maybe a unit that is purely on the stunts. Or even a Brand. In his case, I would probably go for an Accuracy S3 because you kind of like that over there. Who would be a good AoE Brander that would make sense next to this? Could say that Triss could be an option because of AoE brand and pushback and extra crit damage. It is the same element, but then just never use it against water. Could see this as an option instead of the Tiana, so you go for damage over here. I kind of like that. It would really change the dynamic of the team, to be honest, but just for the idea of it. Because then you kind of want to replace the Tiana, but the Tiana is also helping me boost to get enough attack bar, plus you might trigger a lot of Nemesis on this already, so there's kind of a bit of buts to it, but I could also kind of see it work. Because then I guess you would more look towards using something along the lines of an Escher or something. Normally I would throw a lot of speed at this guy, but since we're bound to the speed of this one over here, let's just make it slightly bit slower. It disappears more this way. It doesn't, but that doesn't matter. Let's just give this a try. I'm not too sure if this is any good in the first place. I would probably say that previous team was still better, but we're just trying things out. Let's just see how he works. We have this going in the Thundered state. You might already trigger some Nemesis over here, especially you in that case. Is already a bit of chip damage. Let's see how much we do for you over here right now. Okay, is that only the second hit death breaking? Well, it is a self setup for a death break. And then we can go for this one, which is then also an cannot be revived after that. Also, probably these units have higher resistance, so why? Might he be actually the counter to it? Well, it's the big issue. The moment that there is Camillas next to it and those kind of things. But since you have the self-setup death break, your first hit is not going to do as much damage, whereas your second hit is going to do a lot of damage. Which is kind of a nice thing in its own right. Only big issue is that, yeah, he's kind of a bad element. That's the only issue there is to it. At least we have a frigate in this team. But yeah, having the elemental issue over here is definitely something I could say is like, But he might be a better counter into the Gandalf itself because of the setup and therefore not really killing with the skill 3, but killing with the skill 4. Because that's the part where it is set up already, right? Kind of makes sense, right? So that's... I could kind of see that working. Also, if we just crit at least once on this, that's... Jesus, reflect damage. Calm down. Can we kill on that, actually? I'm not even sure. Nope. We can't reflect ourselves to death. That still is something. That's also something. Nice stunts right there. So yeah, if it's really a counter, I'm not too sure. Let's try one more time against full wrong elements. Uh-oh, this is gonna get so bad. Also, I would say that you probably want a max accuracy on this dude. If you want to do something stupid like this. I'm only 50 accuracy, so... Or wait, even 40, so it's a 50-50 hit-ish kind of thing. So that's not really helping out in the first place. So at least we can land all of these. Can we get some stun? Did we get some? We got one. And on the one target that we're most likely not killing. But at least we have a brand. Yeah, that's not even remotely enough damage. Okay, never mind on this unit. The other one just felt like way more damage. Or something. I don't know. Countwist tried with the boss. I tried with making a video. We both did not really succeed. But maybe there's something... I can see the Seagate if you don't really have other options. I can see the Seagate kind of doing something. Well, guys, that's all for this video. Hope you did enjoy. See you as always in the next one. If you have any super weird unit that you would say, test this out, let me know in the comments. Because currently with the current balance patch, not too much shit's going on. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.